And good afternoon. This is the Elliott Wave daily update for the NASDAQ 100 being recorded on Monday, October the 13th at 2:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. There's actually not a lot to be adding to current analysis. Let me see if I can get this to go down. Um, so I'm just kind of going to jump in. I'm on the hourly chart. And first thing I did was I did go and I rearranged. I changed instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I put it as an ABC, primarily because the market here, at least in the NASDAQ, kept wanting to break above that 618 resistance level. And not that it can't or that it's got to be held by it, but it did it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times and basically did not succeed in getting very far. But I'm leaving open the possibility that what we have going on is an A, B, or 1, 2, 1, maybe another 2, something of that nature. Or we're kind of just trying to work our way higher in the C wave, A, B, and now we're kind of trying to come back up. I'm not going to be running like what we run fibs from there down to there to kind of give me what a C wave would look like because I think that could be a little bit out of hand because we gapped. Now I'm leaving this up as well, just in case that we have this is all A of B and we're going to get a B of B, still leaving all these up because those would continue to be the markers. Might be a little bit different in here because we go like this and we say we activate, and I could put it over to here. So it makes a very slight difference, 24,655, 24,560, and 24,465 for the markers on the way down, if indeed this is A of minuet wave B, and we're going to get that B wave like we discussed this morning. Again, not really appearing that that's going to be the case. Um, so I guess I'm still continuing just to look for the completion point of this B wave, which is B of minuet wave B of minute wave 4. So I've also left this up because making this an ABC does give the market the ability where if it decides it wants to go up, but yet it can't and won't break above that high, at least I'm now opening up the door or the window that it can get up to 25,250 and still be corrective in a B wave. It would kind of, and leaving this open then to be more of a flat rather than looking for something that's going to come all the way down in a zigzag. We still might get that zigzag because this is not actually going too far out of range just yet. So basically, we traded in a small, tight range all day in comparison to, well, of course, what we saw on Friday, but just on a more normal basis, we tend to have, stronger moves in the direction of the trend. And the trend still, in my mind, and a lot of people can say it's changed and it's now down, but I still think that underneath it, the trend is still up. So again, I know there's now a lot of other people that respected people that do Elliott Wave, and they're kind of calling the top is in, and that we just go down from here. Um, some on a much longer term basis than others. So because we'd have to consider that that high of minute wave 3 was it. That was the completion point for everything. This 5, the intermediate 5, that, and then the primary wave 3 here in the NASDAQ. In the other markets, it would be the cycle wave 3, and some are even going higher than that. So it remains interesting for me. The algorithms are still not definitely behind that, although I cannot deny it, say it isn't. As I mentioned in the weekend with the weekly update, that sure, I need to go back and look and see, is there a possibility? And there is. I can move that 3 down to here and put the 4 there. And this puts it in the minute fifth wave. And maybe this is just wave 1 and this is wave 2. So we have 3, 4, 5. Or it's just if this is minute wave 3, minute wave 4, then these can get bumped up to minuet, and then you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that would be minute wave 5. And then what goes above it? Minor wave 5, primary, intermediate wave 5, primary wave 3. And again, this minor fifth wave certainly has met its expectations because this line up here is 462%, where wave 5 is 462% of wave 1 on the minor degree. So every time, that's why I keep talking about once we're done with the minute fifth wave, well, then it's going to finish the minor fifth wave, the intermediate fifth wave, and the primary third wave, which is what we're looking for to top out here. So yes, I could turn around and say it's all done. But if that's the case, I'm going to be honest, if that's the case, I would not be looking for the market to hang out here. It would have every reason on the planet to take whatever this was way more seriously and just continue to sell off. They didn't. They gapped up on the opening and held higher levels all day. In fact, the Dow closes up $588. The cash and the NDX cash closed up 528. So on Friday, it was only down 800 and something. So it regained, um, three quarters of what it gave last week on Friday, or at least 5/8. So, and the futures market, actually, then in the after hour, it was down. So, but overall, today it was up substantially because of the gap and it just kept going or it just held those higher levels. What contributed to that today, a great deal, was Broadcom. Broadcom got an upgrade, so to a buy rating, and that just brought it all in immediately. We saw that come pre-market, and that's when we just started heading up to these resistance levels, and it did pretty well. Broadcom again today finishing the day up 32. Now, also, they were selling volatility. They sold volatility. It was actually down below 19 at several points today. And so they brought it up after the bell. They brought it back up to close just above 19. Um, so again, I saw what I'm really taking as reinstituting risk on trades. It wasn't across the board, although it felt like it, but I didn't see it in terms of looking at the options. So, but I could go over to the Qs and you'd be able to see some of it there. You can go over to these individual stocks and Apple, AMAT. I saw some Broadcom a lot. But then when you go look at the options, it wasn't like they traded hundreds of thousands of contracts. And then I saw some in NVIDIA and some in Tesla for sure, because suddenly Tesla's up 22, and that's almost 436, etc. So there was Oracle up 15, so they're moving back into Oracle. They're moving back into a little bit into Microsoft, a little bit into Meta, and it also just could be it's like the markets were a little bit thin. Holiday. A lot of the participants had the day off, etc. So we'll pick it up again tomorrow and see, like everybody's back at their desk, and we'll see what kind of trading we get. Is the market going to just kind of fade back off, and all of this upside was for naught? So, it just all gets reversed again. And as far as the wave count goes, that would be a part of what I'm looking for. I still think I can only have wave A. And I still think this is going to be minuet wave B. And we have a minuet C wave coming down. And what we need to do is, let me activate that and change that. We'd always have to go back up to that high. It just changes it very little. But we're looking at the 100%, which is 23,725. I'll round it up. Then we have the fib, the first fib level for the minute four at 23,572. And I cannot excuse this or just say this left tail, which is nothing more, folks. Don't get confused. When we're talking about tails and options, usually talking about those out of the money puts and out of the money calls. Those are the tails. So, and traders will go and buy or sell them to protect a position. In this case, these tails, and what I set up with the algorithm was to find, excuse me, Since we're entering into earnings, I wanted to see momentum, event momentum, and what percentage then could we count on, and how would that fit into an overall percentile, 0 to 95, actually from 5% to 95%. And so we get into that commonality in between. But what important is here is that earnings reports can produce event momentum. Quite often lately, we've been seeing it to the upside, but that can change. So I did it on both sides. Left tails are the bearish, right side are the bullish side. Now, the bulk of these earnings really don't start to come out until next week. So again, tomorrow we have the banks. Let's see what kind of stage they set. I think that the world is waiting for the banks to say, "Yep, we made $1 billion." How many billions of dollars in one quarter? So again, a lot of good trading by a lot of these desks, but they start tomorrow, JP Morgan. And then, as I have been talking about, I want to hear what he is going to say in his press conference. Um, just about everything all together. And so, and how that will play out. I'm sure there are other banks that are going to be coming out tomorrow. Let me just actually go and check out. Yeah, I'm going to go here, and I want to actually hold on. Earnings, the earnings chart, excuse me. So what we have again tomorrow on the 14th, we have Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Johnson & Johnson, and JP Morgan. Johnson & Johnson, you're in their good company. So we have one, two, three, four banks, four big banks. Goldman Sachs, big merchant. JP Morgan, just a big bank, both merchant and banking. Wells Fargo, same. So we got four coming out tomorrow morning, likely before the opening. Let me just double check. Goldman, you're going to be reporting before the market tomorrow. I know JP Morgan is the same thing. And maybe Wells Fargo, I think they still, and Citigroup, they all come before the market opens. So let's see what kind of stage is going to be set based on banking. Not that any of these stocks are counting on banking, but it could set a tone, and it might set a tone for tomorrow where the market gets to rally, or it's setting a more negative tone and the market will just kind of continue to move lower. So both sides are active. Outside of that, folks, are really the left tail, again, talking about that event momentum coming down. There's a 10%, it's a 10% move. And then I look for the probability, and the probability is pretty high. It's about 35%, I think, or at least 32% probability that we get a 10% event momentum move. And that's going to be what's going to give it the momentum is earnings, good or bad. We have FOMC meeting between now and the end of the year. We have two FOMC meetings. One going to be coming in on, I believe, the 22nd. And don't forget that also October the 19th, 1987, that was the big crash, right? The whole one that's just a little blip on every single screen, every chart. But that is on Sunday the 19th. So when we're looking at how the market can react, and maybe we'll go down into the October expiration, which is Friday. But if I'm going to see some follow through on that, and we're going to go to a lot about anniversary of such things, then I think the 20th is going to be a more important date, because then everybody's got the weekend and they will see about what gets exercised, what doesn't. We'll see how Friday actually ends up. If it's going to be similar to the Friday we just went through, well, that one, we kind of got that clue from how they finished that weekly expiration, bringing all the stocks back to the 4 p.m. close, that price. And that just brought this about yesterday. They just gapped because they were left higher. So all of this additional drop that came late in the session was taken away. was taken away. And so they just gapped and then they held higher. And we saw a lot of the buying coming back in. Now, whether that was because a lot of people were left too short, looking for a downside move, so they had to race in and cover or whatever, who knows? And it doesn't really make any difference because the market was kind of on the quiet side. Volume's not bad, and now it's all gone. But stock volumes, not the greatest, but not the worst. Nvidia always going to be the winner lately. But then we had, oh, that was an ETF. Tesla's almost 79 million, and then Nvidia 153 million. So Intel back up, getting over 100 million shares trading. That is pretty incredible. In any case, not much. I don't want to extend this any further than you guys are willing to bear. So I do continue to look for C wave down. These are the markers, and here's the previous fourth. So everything falls into place pretty cleanly. All right, our next update will be tomorrow morning.